Hello gamers, this is Tom Sidener, the Lonely Gamer, and today we're going to take a look at the 2 to 4 player game, Imhotep. In Imhotep, you play one of the Egyptian pharaohs. And as an Egyptian pharaoh, one of the things that you're going to be trying to do is you're going to be trying to build very impressive structures within your area or your community. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to be the player who has the most impressive structures at the end of the game, and you will receive points within the game and at the end of the game for building these structures. Let's take it to the table and see what it looks like. In Imhotep, you're going to receive a instruction booklet with very clear and easy to understand instructions. You're going to receive a bag of gray cubes, a bag of brown cubes, white cubes, and black cubes. Now these cube colors represent the 4 players in the game. Each player in the game is going to select a color of cube. You're also going to receive some boats. You're going to receive some sleds for your different cube colors. There are some market cards in the game. There are some round cards in the game. You're going to have a score track here. And you're going to have the different locations within your city. So in order to set up the game, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to place out your market. Each one of these areas has an A and a B side on them. The B side is more advanced. So for this demonstration, we are just going to be using the A side. So this is the A side market. The next thing that's going to go out is your pyramid. After the pyramid is going to be your temple. And then your burial chamber. And last but not least is going to be your obelisk. Okay, after you do that, then your users are going to make a decision of what color they want, and they're going to put the cubes of their color into the quarry. So you're going to make a quarry off to the side here. We are going to do a demonstration of a 2-player game, so we're just going to use the gray and the brown cube. So this is now our quarry. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to set out the boats. You're going to put the boats into an area where they're accessible, so that during each round you can select the boat that you want to use. And so I'm going to put the boats out here. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to give a sled to each one of the people depending on the color they pick. So we're going to have in this game the brown sled and the gray sled, and we would give this to the person who chose that color. We are going to put out the score tile where it's visible by everybody so everybody can see it. We're going to take the market cards. They have the market card back on them. We are going to shuffle them, and we are going to place them out next to the market. We are then going to take the round cards. We're going to look at the back of the round cards, and you're going to see some heads on there. And you can see on this round card there is 3 heads. That is for a 3-player game. So we're going to look through here and we're going to find the 2-player round cards. There should be 7 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The game is only played in 6 rounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of these at random from here. And we're going to put it back in the box. We are going to take the 6 round cards and we are going to set them close to the board. Each player is going to take 1 cube of their color and place it on the starting track of the score track. So I'm going to put a gray and a brown right here on the 0 section of the score track. We're also going to give out starting cubes for our sleds. The first player gets 2. The second player gets 3. If we had a third player, they would get 4, and the fourth player will get 5 starting cubes. The gray person is going to be our first player. We're going to go ahead and get ready to start the round. At the start of every round, we are going to flip over a card. And on that card, it's going to tell us what ships are available in this round. We are going to put these ships out so that everybody has access to them. So in this round, we have a ship of 3, a ship of 3, a ship of 2, and a ship of 2. So here's a 3 ship, and a 3 ship, and a 2 ship, and a 2 ship. Okay, we are ready to start the round. So the first player will go. The first player has options on their round. They can do one of 4 things. The first thing they can do is they can place a cube on a ship. The second thing they can do is they could take a ship and they could sail it. The ship can only sail if it meets the sail requirement, and right here on the boat you can see a little cube that designates the sail requirement. This one requires 1 cube to sail, this one requires 1, this one requires 2, and this one requires 2. So in order to be able to sail these boats, they have to be meeting the sail requirement. You do not have to have one of your cubes on a boat to sail it. If you decide to sail the boat, you take the boat and you park it at one of the locations. Once the boat is parked at a location, then the cubes that are on the boat are unloaded in order from the front of the boat to the back of the boat. So in this case, we would unload this cube first, and then the player who owns this cube would unload it next. The third thing a player can do on their turn is they can take cubes. They can take 3 cubes from the supply and place it on their sled. Their sled does have a maximum of 5 that it can hold. So if you already have 5, you can no longer take cubes. If you only had 1 and you chose the take cube option, you would only be able to take 1 cube and place it on your sled. The fourth and final thing that you can do on your turn is you can play a card. If you have received a blue card from the market, you can play a blue card on your turn. So that brings us to the cards. So at the beginning of each round, we are going to load the market with cards, and there's different types of cards. There are purple cards. Here's an example of a purple card. This purple card is a collection card, so you keep them, and when you have the right certain number at the end of the game, you get points. So if you have 1 of the purple cards, you get 1 point. If you have 2, you get 3 points. If you have 3, you get 6 points. If you have 4, you get 10 points. And if you have 5 plus, you get 15 points plus 2 for every additional card. There are also green cards. Green cards modify the score at the end of the game. So this one says at the end of the game, earn 1 point per 3 stones in the burial chamber, the ones that you own, and other stones. So the green cards will give you extra points at the end of the game. There are also red cards. Red cards give you immediate effects. This one says immediately place 1 stone from the quarry to the burial chamber. And then there are blue cards. And blue cards you keep in your hand, and you can use them as an action on a turn. And this one says that you can do 1 time action, place 1 stone on 1 ship, and then sail the ship as well. Normally, placing a stone on a ship or sailing a ship are 2 separate actions. So the market contains 4 cards. At the beginning of each round, you clear the cards that are on there off, and you place 4 new cards. So let's kind of move forward in a game, and we'll go ahead and we'll see what the different locations do when you sail a ship to them. If you sail a ship to the market, the first person on the ship that has the colored cube will get to pick one of the cards. So let's say the gray player decided that he wanted the purple card because he's collecting them in a set. He would take that and put that down in front of him, and then he would move the cube back to the quarry. The second player would also do the same. He would take his cube, put it in the quarry, and he would take the card of his choice. Let's say he took this one. This is a red card, and it happens immediately. It says immediately place 1 stone from the quarry on your obelisk. So he would take 1 stone from the quarry, and he would place it on his obelisk. Down here is the obelisk. There's a place for each color to create an obelisk, so he would start his obelisk here. This card would then go to the discard pile. If you sail a ship to the pyramid has to be built in a certain order so that it becomes stable. So you would follow the arrows here. The bigger arrows are first and then the smaller arrows are next. So we would start building the pyramid starting here and here. This person would get points immediately for this. So we would look under there, that's 3 points. And so we would move the brown player up, 1, 2, 3, on the score track. If somebody sails a ship to the temple, then those pieces in order from the front to the back are put onto the temple, as so. At the end of each round, the players will get 1 point for every stone of theirs that they can see from the top. So at this point, at the end of the round, the gray player would actually get 2 points. If it looked like this sometime later in the round, then the brown player would get 2 points and the gray player would get 2 points. If we sail a ship to the burial chamber, it works a lot like the pyramid. We have to start here where the big arrow is and start working our way down. So the gray would go first, then the brown, and then the other gray. At the end of the game, players are going to receive points depending on how many cubes are adjacent to each other. So in this case, this cube, and this cube are all independent. So the gray would get 2 points. That's 1 times the 2. And the brown player would get 1 point because that's 1 times the 1. But if it looked like this at the end of the game, the gray player would receive 3 points for this collection of 2 and 1 point for this collection of 1 for a total of 4 points. This brown player would receive 6 points for this collection of 3. You can have multiple collections. So the gray player would now have 2 collections of 2, which would be 6 points, plus 1, which would be 7, and the orange player would have a collection of 3, which is 6 points, plus 1, which would be 7 as well. This brown cube, even though touching another brown cube diagonally, would not be considered part of this set. They have to be touching on one of the 4 sides. The last area that you can sail to is the obelisk. On the obelisk, players are just creating as tall of an obelisk as they possibly can. In a 2-player game, the person with the highest obelisk gets 10, and the second player with the second highest obelisk only gets 1. In a 3-player game, the highest obelisk is worth 12, the second highest is worth 6, and the third highest is worth 3. In a 4-player game, the obelisk with the highest is worth 15, the second highest is worth 10, the third highest is worth 5, and the lowest one is worth 1. At the end of every round, you put all of the boats back into the boat pool. You flip over a new boat card. You put out the types of boats that the boat card requires. So this has a 4. So there's a 4 boat and a 3 and 2 2s. You also discard any cards that are still in the market, and you replenish the cards in the market. You do not remove any cubes from the board. The cubes stay for the entire game. The person who sailed the last ship into harbor is the first player for the next turn. So if you were the one who sails the last ship into the harbor, you become the first player for the next round. Also, sailing the last ship into the harbor denotes the end of the round. So once all ships have been sailed in and all cubes have been put out, the round ends. You go through the end of round steps and then you start another round. The game is played for 6 rounds. Once you've played the 6th round, which will be noted by the last card in this stack, the game ends and final scoring begins. The pyramid scores immediately when things are placed on them. The temple scores at the end of each round, so that at the end of each round, people get the points for the temple. The burial chamber is scored at the end of the game, and the obelisk is also scored at the end of the game. So let's do a quick example round, just so you can see how it goes. So as the gray player, I'm going to play a gray cube on this boat as my action. It would go to the brown player. The brown player says, I'm going to play a brown cube here. The gray player says, I am going to play a gray here. The brown player says, I am going to play a brown here. The gray player says, I am going to play a blue card from my hand. My blue card says, place 1 stone on 1 ship and sail the ship. And I'm going to sail it to the market, where I can use my 2 stones to get 2 cards. I'm going to take the 2 statue cards. These 2 statue cards I will keep till the end of the game because I have 2, they're worth 3 points right now, but if I get more, they'll be worth more points at the end of the game. The brown player says he's going to take 3 cubes, so he takes 3 cubes and sets them on his sled. The gray player says he's going to sail a ship. He's going to sail the ship. Now, even though the ship does not have any of his colored cubes on it, it does meet the cube requirement of 1. So he's going to sail that, and he's going to sail it up here to the temple, moving this guy over here. The brown player is going to place a cube right here. The gray player is going to sail this ship to the pyramid, where the brown player will go first and receive a 3, so he receives 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and the gray player is going to go here. It must go in this order. He's going to go here and he's going to receive 2. The gray player is going to place a cube there. The brown player is going to take 2 cubes. That's all that will fit on his sled. The gray player is going to take 3 cubes as well. The brown player decides he doesn't want the gray player to get any more cubes, so he's going to go ahead and sail this ship. He's going to sail it to the burial chamber. The brown is going to go out first, and then the gray is going to go out second. The 4th boat has been put out, so that will end the round. So all boats get returned to the shipyard. All cards in the market get discarded, and new cards get placed in the market. Then a new ship card will be turned over to start the next round. And we get a 3, a 2, a 2, and a 1. And then the person who sailed the last ship into the harbor, which was the brown player, would go first and start taking their turns for the next round. Once the game is done, then the score from the burial chamber and the obelisk is total, along with any scores from cards, being either purple cards, which are sets, or green cards, which add to the total. Like this one says, at the end of the game, earn 1 point for each 3 stones in the temple. So right now there are 3 stones in the temple, so this card would be worth 1 point at the end of the game. Everybody tallies up their score, and the person who has the highest score at the end of the game is the winner. and that's Imhotep. It's a very, very, very simple game to play. It's a simple game to teach, but it has a lot of really good in-depth strategies. So I enjoyed this game. It wasn't overly taxing. It doesn't seem like it would take people a lot of time to think about what they're going to do on their turn, and it seems like a game that you could play quickly. I played a 2-player game of this, and it took about 20 minutes, and we had never played, so we actually had to look up a couple rules, and even with that, we made it in 20 minutes. So I like this game. I give it 2 thumbs up. If this looks interesting to you, then go check it out. And that's it for Imhotep. Until I see you again, happy gaming.